All right, our final section in the measurement, section, our final topic. So we've done imperial conversions separately, we've done metric conversions separately, and now we're going to mash the two of them together, and we're going to go from the metric system to the imperial system. We're going to use exactly the same strategies as you had before. There is nothing new in this other than a few extra conversions added to the conversion chart that you'll see on the right-hand side. So exactly the same principles. This is more just some extra practice. All right, convert 5 kilometers to miles. So in order to do conversion, we need to know the equivalent so we can write a unity fraction if we're going to do it that way. If you want to use your arrows that you're always, if you're going in this direction, we're going to multiply. If we're going the other way, we're going to divide. You can use that too. But we're going to start out with 1 mile is 1.609 kilometers. If you want to memorize it as 1.6, that would be sufficient for me as well. So 5 kilometers, we want to get it to miles. I'm going to write the unity fraction because it helps people know whether they're multiplying or dividing. So 1 mile is 1.609 kilometers. So the fraction, the number that's not a 1 is on the bottom, so it's going to turn into a division question. So we're going to have 3.11 miles. 5 divided by 1.6. Convert 3.65 inches into centimeters. So we want to find that one. And it looks like I need to erase a little bit here. There we go. And in order to do that one, we want, oops, let me go back. There we are. I think I selected a pointer or something. There we go. So looking here, we want to go from inches to centimeters. So there's our conversion. So 3.65. To go from inches to centimeters, we're going to put the inch on the bottom and the centimeters on top. So 1 inch on the bottom and 2.54. This is another one you should memorize. So in this list, this one, all the ones that I have starred, I would argue you should know by heart. I can forgive some of the other ones, but any of the ones that I have marked with a star, and I'm going to mark this one, those would be really good ones to work towards memorizing. You go get a conversion chart. I do have a habit of offering bonus points for remembering a few conversions, but it is good for you to remember those few conversions that are there. All right, now that we have this, we notice the 1 inch is on the bottom, so this is going to multiply for every 3.65 inches. For every inch, we have 2.54 centimeters, so we multiply and we get 9.27 centimeters. We don't need to convert anything into fractions or anything like that. Simple conversion is finished, so just a 1 step. Now we get to the next one. These questions are what I call a 2-step conversion. So there's easiest done in more than 1 step. So we want to go from milliliters to US gallons. So if we're looking at our chart, well, I left out all the metric prefixes. So if you need to, make a note of them. So we had mega, kilo, that M looks like a U, and that could cause us some trouble later. So let me bring that back. Let's just adjust my writing a little bit. All right. So for metric prefixes, we have an M for mega, kilo. We have U for our unit, and then we have milli, and then we have this micro. Okay, so those are our common units. So we want to get to a gallon, and let's look at our gallon conversion. It's down here. 1 gallon is 3.785 liters. So if this was liters to gallons, it would be easy, but we need to get milliliters to gallons. So let's go from milli to our liter. We're going to go that 1 step, and that's going to move by 1,000. Okay, that step represents 1,000, so we're going to move 3 places because there's 3 zeros, and we're going to turn it into liters. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 0 milliliters, and a liter is a larger unit, so there's going to be less of these small pieces. There's going to be less of the large unit than there was of the small pieces. That's the right way to say that. So we're going to divide by 1,000 in order to get to liters, which leaves us with 24.560 liters. Now we can go to gallons. So now that we have liters, we can use this conversion. We're going to multiply by, let's use our conversion. We want to get rid of the liters, so 3.785, 1 gallon on the top. So we're dividing to get rid of the liters. And that's going to leave us with 6.489 gallons. Now, why did I keep 4 digits here? What I did was I looked up at the question. I said, well, there's 4 numbers that aren't zeros. I should probably keep at least 4 digits that aren't zeros as well. So I'm just kind of using some projection. There are some rules around that. We won't deal too much with the rules for now. The next example. Okay, so for example 3, just 2 conversions, break it into 2 different steps. Sometimes those ones are a little trickier to do. The next example is the same kind of thing. We have millimeters to feet. So if we look at our chart, okay, here's feet. Feet and inches are connected, okay, and millimeters. So millimeters and centimeters, that's one option. But here we are, inches and millimeters are connected. So if we can do a path, sometimes I'll even make a note of the path. If I can go from millimeters to inches, I can go from inches to feet. Okay, so there's our path to go. So, and this is a conversion I can do without even looking at the chart because I'm just using some of the common conversions that I'm suggesting you have memorized. So we'll start out with 256 millimeters. We're going to multiply by a unity fraction. So we want to get from millimeters and we want to get to inches. We're going to put inches on the top because that's where we want to get. Millimeters on the bottom. And if we look, 1 inch is 25.4 millimeters. So 1 and 25.4. So there's our proof that it's dividing if you weren't sure. If you were sure it was dividing, you could have just divided at that point. That would be fine. So now we end up with 11.25 inches. Now I need to go from inches to feet. So again, we'll use another fraction. 1 foot is 12 inches. Now, if you look at this, you got almost a foot, but not quite. So we know it should be a decimal. There shouldn't be anything in front of it. So if you multiply it by 12, you should get a number that just doesn't make any sense to you. 11 inches divided, 0.25 inches divided by 12 leaves us with 0.938 feet. And again, I've used 3 digits after my decimal. It didn't say what to use, but I used 3 digits just because there's 3 digits in the question. I will make sure on Sam that I specify those for you, so you should be fine. Question 5. We want to convert 3 feet, 8 inches into meters. Sometimes we need to do this. We have to be able to convert between all different types, even if sometimes you look at me and go, when in the heck am I going to use that? It's what's in the syllabus, so I have to make sure you know how to do it. So 3 feet, 8 inches into meters. The first step is to turn everything into 1 unit. Now, if I look at this chart and I look through, especially this section here is where I go from metric to imperial. I have inches to centimeters, inches to millimeters, but there's no feet on this particular list. So let's make a path. We're going to go to inch to centimeter to meter, okay? That's going to be our easiest path. You could go inch to meter, and that would work as well. So 3 feet, 8 inches is equal to So 3 times 12 equals 36 inches plus 8 inches. Leaves us with 44 inches. So the first step is to turn it all into a single unit. All right, I'm going to put back my page here. Okay, now that we have a single unit, now we can convert. So we're going to go from inches to centimeters to meters. So 44 inches. To get to centimeters, let's see what we do. So centimeters on the top, inch on the bottom. Over here, 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Multiply those up, 44 times 2.54 centimeters leaves us with 111.76 centimeters. Their inch part cancels. Now we need to go to meters. Well, to go from centimeters to meters, we're looking down here. There's 100 centimeters in a meter. You can either just move the decimal or think of it like a unity fraction. So 1 meter is 100 centimeters. It's a division. You're dividing by 100, so our decimal will move 2 places to the left. So 1.1176 meters. This one is really hard to know how many decimals to keep because this is it's a different type of measurement. You don't use decimals with them typically. So what I would probably do is I would say 1.12 meters. I'd keep a little bit of extra. Okay, so that's one that would probably have helped if I had given you some more descriptions to where to write. The next one, we have 46,725 millimeters, and we want to turn into feet and inches because feet and inches is going to be much easier to visualize than the 46,725 millimeters. So we need to come up with a plan. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go for millimeters. If we can get millimeters into inches, and then we can go to feet and inches. All right? That's kind of the pathway we want to take. So we're going to start with 46,725 millimeters, and we want to convert that into inches. So we are going to use that one. 1 inch is 25.4 millimeters. So we're really clear when we write it this way that we have a division problem. So it leaves us with 1,840 inches. All right, now we need to figure out, well, how many feet and inches? So let's take that, we're going to multiply it by 1 foot over 12 inches. So we're going to figure out how many feet and inches. And when we do this, we find out that we have 153.33 feet. Okay, so we know feet, but we don't know the inch part. We don't want to leave a decimal with our feet. We want to put the feet into inches. So in order to do that, 0.33 feet, in order to convert that into inches, we need to take the 0.33, we're taking just the decimal, multiply it by 12, or 12 over 1. So 0.33 feet, but by 12 inches over 1 foot. Okay, so that's where you can see it cancels. And when you do that, you get 4 inches. So we're going to take the 4 inches here and the 153 feet together, and the solution is equal to 153 feet, 4 inches. So the foot part doesn't change, just the decimal part of the feet gets put into inches. Hopefully that's not too confusing for you. Again, if there's something that you're stuck with, please don't hesitate to stop. Pop by the office, pop by wherever I'm offering extra help that particular day. Send me an email, set up an appointment. I would love to work with you. We just have a couple more examples in this section to work through. This one's a teeny bit longer than the other ones, just because there's a couple more question types we can give. Now, this question is a question that is often asked in the trades. And what we want to do is we want to convert millimeters into inches as a fraction. So think of it as maybe you're picking up a wrench and it's a metric wrench, it's 15 millimeter. And you want to know what's the closest imperial wrench you could have. So what's the closest you can get in inches? So this is what I'm going to show you how to figure out. I know several instructors ask this on their exams for like theory or practical that aren't necessarily in math class, so it would do you well to make sure you know how to do it. So 15 millimeters, we want to convert it to inches, and we want to give it accurate to a 1/16 of an inch. So 15 millimeters, we're going to multiply that by 1 inch over 25.4 millimeters. Okay, so basically when we multiply this way, it's going to turn out the same as 15 divided by 25.4. Can't get that decimal to show, which is equal to 0.5906 inches. Okay. Now we know we don't leave inches as decimals. You'll see I've kept extra decimals. I would suggest you keep at least 3 or 4 decimal places. That's really important if you want to get accurate to a 1/16. So now we're going to take that decimal and we're going to turn it into fraction. Okay. Okay, we're going to turn the decimal into a fraction. So in order to do that, we'll take our decimal, 0.5906, and we're going to multiply it by the fraction denominator. That will tell me what the numerator is. I don't know if you remember doing that in our last unit. And we get 9.4, and we're going to round that to approximately equal to 9. So this is my numerator. So 15 millimeters is approximately equal to 9/16 inches. Okay. Now, if you used a 9/16 wrench, it's going to be slightly snug because we rounded down here. 10/16 or 5/8 would fit on, but it would fit on a little bit loose. Okay, so that's a little bit tricky. We're going to have some, you'll see some extra practice of those in your workbooks anyway. One more question with those. So we have 375 millimeters. We want to get it into inches. So again, first thing, we'll put it into inches, and then we're going to go to the 16th. So 365 millimeters. You can probably do this in your sleep by now. So 375 divided by 25.4. Pop that in your calculator, and you get 14.7638 inches. Now, we know there's 14 whole inches, so this is my whole. We need to turn to a fraction. Okay, so we're going to take 0.7638 inches. We're going to multiply it by 16. This is my denominator. And you've probably got that in your calculator by now. 12.2 is what we're going to get, which we need to round to a whole number, so that's going to go to 12. And this little squiggle just means approximately equal to, just tells me that we've rounded. So 12, and that's my numerator. Okay, so we have 14 whole inches, 12/16 inches. So there's our part. You know from the fraction section we need to reduce. We can divide 12 by 4 and we can divide 6 by 4. So this is the same as 14 3/4. Does that make sense? I'm going to guess most of you, if you saw 0.75 here, you know that was 3/4. The reason we went through that whole step was if this had rounded up closer to 13/16, then we would have had to leave it. We couldn't have rounded down to 3/4. So we can't just jump and say, well, that's close enough to 3/4. If you want accurate to the 16th of an inch, we actually have to find out how many 16ths and then reduce it to prove that we actually have 3/4 and we don't have more or less. And one very last question. This is a great test style question. Which one's greater? Or are they equal? We could do that. So in this case, it's just like when we were comparing fractions, you make your denominators common. When we're comparing measurements, we make the measurements the same. So all we're going to do is we're just going to convert these and make each of the units the same. So 2.7 gallons or 10.4 liters. Well, I'm going to take the liters and turn it into gallons. So 10.4 liters multiplied by, so there's our gallon to liter here, and we'll assume that it's a US gallon. Okay, so 1 gallon is 3.785 liters. 1 gallon, 3.785. So it's 10.4 divided by 3.785 leaves us with 2.75 gallons. So this one is slightly larger. It's very slightly larger, but that 7.5 makes it a little bit bigger. 15 3/4 inches are 48 centimeters. Well, let's convert them. Easiest way to do that is take our 48 and let's convert the 48 into inches. 48 centimeters times 1 inch over 2.54 centimeters leaves us with 18.9 inches. 48 centimeters is bigger than 15 inches. Okay. 121 kilometers or 72 miles. Well, we have to compare the same units. Easiest way to do that, let's take our miles and switch it to kilometers. So 72 miles multiplied by our unity fraction. Oops. Miles on the bottom, kilometers on the top, and if we look over here, oh, there's our miles and kilometers. So 1 mile is 1.609 kilometers, so 72 times 1.609 leaves us with 115.8 kilometers. So 121 kilometers is greater than 72 miles. And the very last one, we have 84 kgs or 185 pounds. I'll admit this is one of those things when we're doing weights of people. I much prefer to see pounds and kgs. I find it easier to visualize. I can put it in reference to myself. So let's convert. So let's take our pounds, 185 pounds, and we're going to convert that into kgs so we can compare. So pounds and kilograms. Here's our conversion here. 1 kg is 2.2 pounds. So 85 divided by 2.2 gives me 84 kgs. These two are equal. All right. So just a simple little exercise in comparing units, pretty straightforward calculations. And that kind of wraps up the types of conversions that you need to be able to do for this particular section. Again, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you need some extra practice and one-on-one help with these, please don't hesitate to ask. You will be given a conversion chart for any midterms, so you don't have to memorize the conversions, but you do need to know how to use it, and you can expect, I did not do tons, but you can expect to have a question where I will ask you to do a conversion, and you won't have necessarily seen that conversion before, but the numbers will all be on your chart.